joining us to talk about the NHL trade deadline out of Vancouver, longtime Canucks broadcaster, reporter Jeff Paterson, and if I may, Memorial Cup champion with the Kamloops Blazers. JP, looks like you are, you look like Radio Row at, you're in the press box there at Rogers Arena? Cool.
I am. I'm in the rafters, sort of. I like your backdrop, though, with the palm trees, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. Yeah. And look, yes, I broadcasted a Memorial Cup championship. Do not mistake me for a Memorial Cup champ. I had nothing to do with it, but I do hope I brought a little bit of something to the airwaves way back when.
Radio NL, but I know you have a ring. Before we talk about what the Canucks have done or not done, what about today's moves at Marc-Andre Fleury? Did you see him going to Minnesota? I did not. And what do you think this does for the Wild?
Yeah, I didn't see it a week ago, but certainly over the weekend, that chatter seemed to emerge, and so I guess I'm not shocked. I thought the Wild looked like they were pretty solid in goal, but clearly Bill Guerin, with his connections to Marc-Andre Fleury from their time together in Pittsburgh, you know this as well as anybody, Rod. Hockey is it's played on the ice, but it's still a people business at the end of the day, and so there are those connections. And I guess Bill Guerin felt that he needed a little bit of an upgrade. So now you got Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot, and we'll see how far that goaltending takes them. I like a lot of what the Minnesota Wild have done. I like the acquisition of Nick Delorier the other day from Anaheim for a third-round pick. That's a big, strong team, and I know that the game is moving to speed and skill, but come playoff time, I think there's certainly, an area and an element of that physical nature that's required still to have success. So I like a lot of what the Minnesota Wild have going, and I like that addition. I think Marc-Andre Fleury, with his championship pedigree, he'll come in there, give them the kind of goaltending. Wouldn't it be rich and delicious if they could meet up with Vegas at some point in the postseason, although I think it would take a couple of rounds to get on a collision course there. So I'm not expecting that. But look, you don't go anywhere without goaltending in the playoffs. I heard you mentioning the Oilers. I am a little surprised that Ken Holland, and there's still time here, haven't done anything at the same time. One of the, I think, understated storylines in the NHL here over the last 3 weeks has sort of been the redemption arc of Mikko Koskinen in Edmonton as well. They're on a run. He's performing a whole lot better. At the same time, would I want to put all my chips to the middle on Mikko Koskinen as the Oilers guy come playoff time? No, not there yet. So it's a fascinating day around the National Hockey League, and I think we're just heating up here as we head to the final hour before the deadline.
No doubt. And you mentioned Vegas, Minnesota. Will they meet? They do meet today, and it sounds like the flower is going to start for the Wild and goal. Last I heard, the Canucks, what they've done or not done, your analysis here over the weekend and up to this deadline day today.
Well, 2 weeks ago, there was some real excitement in this city. Since Bruce Boudreau took over, they have been on this remarkable run when it looked like the season was flush. After 25 games, they had to make the coaching change, the whole housekeeping or house cleaning, and it's been a remarkable run to watch them have the success that they've had. They came home off a 3-1 road trip and had a 7-game homestand. Like, it all felt like it was right there in front of them to stay with this playoff pack, and they flushed the homestand. They won just 2 of the 7 games, 1 of the last 6, including a shutout loss to Detroit the other night. They lost in overtime to Buffalo last night, and so I think the die has been cast, if you will, with 18 games to go. I don't think there's going to be playoff hockey here in Vancouver for yet another springtime. And they had some success in the bubble in Edmonton back in the summer of 2020. Of course, those games were played in Edmonton, not here in Vancouver. So it's been a while since there's been playoff hockey played here at Rogers Arena. You got to go back to 2015. It feels like it's so overdue, but the wait will continue. So you saw them trade off Travis Hamonic yesterday. I thought that was a nice piece of business on the part of Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin to get out from under what was left of this year. But there was still $3 million for next season for Travis Hamonic, who had been reduced to a part-time player essentially here. A lot of that his own doing with his vaccination status earlier, but he got hurt and was out for a couple of months. So I was surprised that Ottawa was willing to take on the entire salary with no retention on the part of the Canucks, but I liked that deal. They turned one Travis into another, essentially getting Travis Dermott from the Leafs. He's a whole lot younger. He kind of fits the profile of what they're trying to build here, but it's not enough. There is a lot of work that's still required for this team to get where it wants to be, and so I think we're all sitting here eagerly anticipating the next hour or so. Tyler Mott's name surfacing an awful lot, a pending unrestricted free agent. I think that a number of teams headed to the playoffs could use a Tyler Mott kind of player. Also, Connor Garland's name has come up an awful lot here of late. Of course, he was acquired last summer, signed to a 5-year contract. It's been a bit of an underwhelming first season for Connor Garland, just 14 goals on the year, and he has gone 11 now without scoring at the wrong time of the season. So we'll see what happens here. But the Canucks need help. There's no doubt about it. There was the excitement of that playoff bubble that I referenced from 2020, and you kind of thought that maybe that was the start of something special here in Vancouver. But it's going to be 2 years in a row now without playoff hockey, and you do kind of wonder where this organization is going from here.
Well, as it turned out, that was a blip. But I have to say this. Massive hole dug at the start of the year for the Canucks. To be 3 points out, which is what I think it is as we sit here today, would give me a lot of optimism for the future with this regime of Rutherford and Boudreau. Is that how you guys are looking at it?
Well, again, there's pieces in place, and I go back to that bubble in 2020, and Elias Pedersen was a superstar in the bubble, a point-a-game guy in his first taste of playoff hockey. Bo Horvat rose to the challenge. JT Miller in his first year with the Canucks did a lot of good things. Quinn Hughes, that was his first taste of the playoffs as well. Certainly wasn't afraid of the big stage. But you look at what's happened since then, and some pieces obviously walked away in unrestricted free agency right after that. Jacob Markstrom, Chris Tanev, the Tyler Toffoli loss, I still think was a real blow to this organization. And so there are pieces here, but it's been a disappointing year for Brock Besser. It's been an underwhelming year for Elias Pettersson, who looks like he's battling through some sort of wrist injury now. And of course, that kept him out of the final 30 games last season. So, you just wonder, you say, well, there's lots of pieces here, but where have these pieces got the Vancouver Canucks over the last few seasons? And the answer is nowhere. And so it is a legitimate and a fair question to ask, is it the right mix? And I think that's what Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin are trying to figure out right now. Of course, they were brought in because what was happening here in those first 25 games, completely unacceptable. They won 8 times in the first 25 games. So Jim Benning and Travis Green and others lost their jobs. And I think Jim Rutherford, he's been at this long enough and has the Stanley Cup rings to show for it. He knows he was brought in to effect some change here. So, a couple of deals yesterday. I still think when the dust settles here on trade deadline day that the Canucks are going to be active ahead of the deadline.
Cool. JP, it's a busy day. I appreciate the time. Always good to see you, buddy. Glad things are going great. And good luck down the trail here the rest of the way.
Anytime, Rod. Thanks for having me on.
Jeff Paterson joining us right from Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.